Hey, what's up everyone? Just a quick playthrough of Rusty's opening round from the Pacific Cup Tournament Expert Division. So 14 under, not a great score, but we got a few drops and a few close things, so we'll go through some of those and talk through the notes. So hole 1, tee shot, obviously playing left side with a Berserker and a Thor's Hammer 5. I'm going to use all the topspin and all the right spin that we can, which is all of it. In both cases, we're going to play 15% downhill, so plus 15 on the elevation. So I'm just seeing how much overpower we actually need, and in the end we end up pushing it to max, so we adjust our rings, which was 7.5 from memory, and then I actually just push it all the way to max. Now this seems to work for a Thor's Hammer 5. I'm not suggesting it will work for all clubs, but it works for this one, so there's not really much overpower at all used there. And this will bounce twice and trickle through quite nicely. It does get a little bit close to missing the rough, so maybe doesn't need quite the full push to max, but we'll take it. So for hole 2, same club again, Thor's Hammer 5, this time a Kingmaker. We're going to go with as much left spin as we can and just 3 top spin. I would change this in hindsight to 3.5 top spin, but we go with 3. We have half the blue ring in the rough at max distance of the club. It doesn't show it there, but it is max distance. And we adjust 10% downhill, so plus 10% max numbers. Tiny bit of baby left curl, not enough to break the circle or anything, just to those inner arrows. And that will get up there, not quite as far as my other accounts, but I think 349. So for the second shot we have Sniper 9, obviously slightly less distance than the 10, so this is at max distance of the club. So from a 349 yard drive I've used 1 bar of topspin. This is on the basis that I needed no topspin with a Sniper 10, and a slightly further drive on a different account, so which dropped. So this one we use 10% max numbers, plus 10% max numbers. Ignore the yardages shown there. They're obviously wrong because of the replay. It was at max distance. And we catch a great ball, so this is not going to go in, but it does show the speeds not far off. So I think 1 top spin for a 349 drive is about right. I'd suggest 353 you might want to use half a bar, and if you get as far as 357 with a Sniper 9, then I would go with no topspin. There is a breakdown video of this hole separately on the channel, showing the albatross going, so if you want to see that, check it out. So hole 3, the first par 3, we're going to use our Sniper with all the backspin. So there's a sequence of events here. Put all the backspin on, then aim ball guide at the hole, like that. Push forward so that your blue ring, this is a Sniper 9, so the blue ring's about half onto the fringe, and then you want to use all the backspin which you had and add 2 right spin to that, and then we're going to adjust this 1 to 1, so in this case 9 rings. So you can see that the blue ring isn't quite halfway, it should be halfway onto the fringe, I think, because whilst this drops, it only just drops, so might want to bear that in mind. Same shot can be played with a Sniper 10, and I would do the same thing. I'd set up with the backspin, aim at the pin, then adjust the 2 right spin, and I would actually have the blue ring all the way to the edge of the fringe with a Sniper 10, I think. So that was hole 3. Hole 4, we're going to go left side and play the rough bump with Grizzly. So we're using the same old Thor's Hammer 5. We're going to use 5 right spin and all the top spin. And we're going to start at the plus 3 yard mark. So that is the true yardage in this replay, with the red ring touching the right rough. and then we'll adjust with 10% downhill, so plus 10% on the drive, which if you set up like that shouldn't take you into overpower, and then just a tiny bit of left curl there just to counter the wind a touch, but you might not really need that, it's up to you. So this will bounce over anyway and dance its way down to put us in distance for the grizzly rough bump. So I'll cut that one off a little bit tight. The drive went 341 there, and from there we've established, I think this is about mid distance on a grizzly 7. So we're playing for the rough bump. We use about 1 and a click top and 1 and a click right, so 1.2, 1.1 ish of both. Ball guide at the hole, and then we're going to adjust this mid distance plus 10, so 10% downhill. Can't remember the exact number of rings, but I also did pull this back about half a ring just because we're coming to a higher level. However, as you'll see momentarily, I don't think you need to do that, because had we not pulled that back, I think this would have gone in. As it was played, it misses just to the right, so probably don't need the pullback. So 341 yard drive for me is given mid distance plus 10 rough bump. Hole 5, the second of the par 3s, decided to play this one differently from the stream earlier, so I'm going to go 5 backspin, or close to it, just under 5 I think. And now we're going to play this at mid plus 35% on a sniper 9. So the landing spot reference was blue ring just by the edge of the bunker there, on the bottom of the blue ring, ball guide at the hole, and then as I say mid plus 35%, so I think that was about 10.2 rings from memory. Yeah, I believe it was. So there are other ways to play this hole. You could land to the right of the bunker so you're not adjusting into it, that would make a lot of sense, but I thought I'd try something different on this one. Do catch a great left, which isn't very helpful because it doesn't really show us where it would have gone, but it's not a million miles away, so you might want to consider playing it that way, or one of the other ways that you'll no doubt see. So for hole 6, we're going to use a kingmaker again. We're going to play up towards that right fairway with all of the top spin and as much left spin as we can, which I think in that case 5 left and max top, starting at the plus 11 with the red ring by the rough. Now it's just to great proof it in case of any mistakes. So max plus 10% on the elevation. I'm going to use a bit of left curl just to counter the wind. Please excuse the dog tap dancing in the background. That just gets across, not a fantastic shot, but good enough to give us a chance at the rough bump. It goes 368. So for the second shot, chose to use a level 3 B52 just for the accuracy in the ball guide. Don't really need much spin here at all. And I think from 368, having played the shot and missed it, as you'll see, I think we should have adjusted 75% of the club distance. So we use some right spin and a bit of top spin just to get the ball guide at the hole, with the yellow ring almost at the edge of that darker patch of rough. And I can't remember exactly what we did do, but I know when I look back at it, I think I should have gone 75% club, so that's why I'm suggesting 368 would be about that. I think from playing my other accounts with the same sort of drive and second shot, I think a 355 yard drive would be about 100% club. So I'd imagine it's going to be around a 1 yard difference in the drive, equating to a 2% difference in the club. So this is all in the notes that I'll post in the video description, or a link to those notes. But yeah, just my thoughts on hole number 6. So for hole number 7, we're going to use the slither of fairway. We're going to use as much right spin as we can and think we use all the top spin, do we? Or do we stick at 4? We go to 5, so 5 top and all the right allowed on a Thor's Hammer 5. So we're going to adjust our rings, which is plus 10% max distance, so 10% downhill, and then I'm going to push the target back up to max once I've pulled those rings. I'm going to use as much right curl as I can, which is not a lot on the Thor's 5, but just nearly a full ball's curl. And that's probably a great proof shot as well, to be honest. So that one goes 362. So the second shot will leave you a thorn. Find out where we are. We're pretty close to max distance. In hindsight, I think we should have played this at 85% club, landing between those bunkers, which seems a bit dangerous, but it isn't really. So about 1.5 right and just less than 1 backspin from this position. Obviously you're going to drive it to different areas, so spin as you see fit, but I think the takeaway from this is that 362 with that kind of drive should be about 85% club at 0% elevation. So this one will miss, not by much, but it will miss because we underpulled the rings, I believe. Yep, so we should have gone a bit more. So 85% club for me from 362. Hole 8 is the last par 3, and we're going to use the same sort of shot, in fact the same shot that Tommy did this morning. So you're going to use all the right spin and about 0.7 backspin on a quarterback with a Kingmaker. That red ring cutting the left rough at absolute min distance of the club, and then we've played this one at min plus 10%. Might need a little tweak. I've been missing this one left and right all day by fractions, so we shall persist with it though. I think it's probably a better play than the rough bump, just given the wind angle that we've got. So do catch a great here. Let's see which side we miss on, I can't actually remember. So that was a great left, which we'll miss to the right. So could be one of those holes, but no doubt you'll possibly find a better way to play it, but that's the way I'm going to persist with this week. So the final hole, hole 9, decided to use a power 4 ball just because I played a even more basic expert account earlier. I had to use a quarterback actually because it really doesn't have much in terms of drivers. So for this one, Thor's 5 and a power 4 ball, I didn't get the yardage. I think we're just at about what would be +0 with the yellow ring by the right rough. The second bounce, look at the second bounce, it's just before the rough. And I did play this at 0%, but I used the max number, which I think was a bit heavy-handed, so I'll maybe take a wee bit off the max number next time. But all the right curl you can get on this Thor's 5. Obviously you've got an Apoc, then go for that, but this video is really aimed for people who don't have Apocs, who want to try and play expert. So this will scuttle down there, just avoiding the rough. I think we went 356, yes we did. So unfortunately it wasn't the final shot, it was the penultimate shot, but if you can get it down that far, you're in fairly safe waters with a sniper, even a sniper 9 and a power 4 ball. Ignore the yardage, that's incorrect. This was pretty much near max distance. Went with no spin and 0%, and I offset it a little bit left and obviously short of the hole. I think what I'll do next time is the same line, but I'll use +5 on the adjustment instead of 0, just to give us an extra, about half a ring that would add. Because as you'll see, this comes in nice for pace, but it will miss to the right, so under adjusted. It might even need a little bit more, that's probably more than half a ring to the right, but it is the way the wind's going, so we'll see as the week develops what comes of that. But that was the 9 holes. It was a 14, as I said, at the start. So it will put us through safely. Lots of close things. I think the par threes, apart from the last one, that's quite a tricky one, but the other two, well, we got one of them, and I'm pretty confident we can get the other one. And some of those par fours are definitely dialable, and certainly hole 6, that rough bump, we should be able to get that nailed in by the middle of the week, hopefully at the latest. But yeah, so this was a playthrough mainly for people who don't have Apocs and play expert. So this account, as I said, used Thor's Hammer 5, quarterback 10, I think we had the Grizzly 7, Sniper 9, and a low level B52, a level 3, I think it was, with a Thor 7. So they were the clubs used. The notes that accompany this particular round I'll put in the video description, so have a look at those. They are just my thoughts and my notes. I'm not suggesting they will work for you necessarily. Hopefully they will help you, but please feel free to drop any questions you've got in the comments below, and best of luck with your rounds.